would like to bring to order the regular council meeting for Monday, February 26, 2018. Roll call, please. Mr. Lau.
Mrs. Merrill.
Present.
Mr. Steigel. Here. Mr. Arcuri.
Here.
Mr. Bergquist.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Mr. Ball.
Present.
Mr. Kutzer.
Here.
If we could rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so you won't be embarrassed like I was a couple meetings ago. Please turn your cell phones off or on silent. I appreciate that, please. Thank you. First order of business is approval of the minutes for the regular council meeting of February 12th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
I just have one question. Does it need to reflect the fact that we went into executive session in the middle of the meeting? I don't think it's
It should. If it does not, it should.
I don't think it does, but I think you're right.
We'll make that addition.
Yeah, I had a question too. There was that one thing about the, actually I can't find it right now. I know it was in there. It had to do with the traffic lights and stuff. Do you remember which one that was? Like there was something on there about the traffic, to apply for traffic, something or other.
The green light go, Brian?
I don't know. Was that
Water.
Where was that at?
That would be 8-6.
What number was it, do you know?
What is it you would like to?
I thought I voted no, but I can't remember.
Oh, no, that was with regard to the intersection down here.
Right.
And you voted an affirmative on both of those.
I did?
Yes, you did.
Oh, that surprised me.
Surprised us.
Surprised myself.
Promise that you vote no next time.
Next time I vote, that's right. I should do say next
Whole
time.
night without a no? Okay.
Sorry about that.
Having
Other than that, yeah, we're
cleared
good.
that up, we can maybe move forward. We have any other changes, alterations? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It sounds like 7-0. Special reports, there are none. So the next item on the agenda would be audience comments. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak on a non-agenda item. Anyone at this time want to take their 5 minutes? Yes, sir. You have to state your name and address, please.
My name is Scott Langlois, Murray Highlands, 173 Bittersweet Circle. My wife and I have lived here with our 2 daughters since 2006. As I said, I have 2 daughters, one in the 6th grade and the other a junior. And I just wanted to read something here. I'm here today to voice my extreme concerns over the recent events and overall national trend of the catastrophic events occurring in our schools. It has become abundantly clear that these acts are no longer isolated or viewed upon as anomalies. Can no longer respond with a no to your child when they ask, Dad, Mom, can this happen here? These heinous acts are happening too frequently to be ignored. We live in a copycat society with media at every turn, not to mention social media, which just further magnifies and exacerbates the state of affairs. State and federal lawmakers are scrambling and will continue to do their normal dance and perhaps actually do something this time, but we should not wait for that. This issue needs addressed at the local level by the men and women sitting in this room, along with the school board. We have an incredible responsibility in this regard. We here in our township do not have the power to ban semi-automatic weapons. We cannot change the background check criteria for purchasing guns. We don't have the power to affect mental health reform. But what we can do is ensure our schools are as safe as they can be. Now, I'm a realist. We could spend millions of dollars on rebuilding schools and turning them into fortresses. That is not what I'm saying, although we do have a great opportunity at the high school to do it right. I'm saying we've done a good job to date, but we need to go further. I spoke with Chief Grimes just last week, and he agrees. More resources are needed to have police presence full-time at all the schools. What is the cost of 5 additional resource officers? And correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be stepping out of bounds here, but I know we just had some pretty large allocations for park updates. Maybe we start there. And this gets into budget silos between parks and recreations, et cetera, but difficult times require difficult decisions to be made. In addition, I believe new safety protocols need to be introduced to all the schools regarding entry and exit points. Just the other day, my daughter forgot a paper at McMurray Elementary. We drove up at 6:30 in the evening, and she and her friend walked right into the school unfettered. Now, this could have been anyone. And once in, who's to say they don't stay and hide until morning? Point being, the entire security apparatus needs reviewed at all of the schools. The perpetrators of these acts are not masterminds with advanced training. They're degenerates, children in their own regard with no training. And yet they are accessing schools and systematically massacring students and teachers. Surely we can bring reasonable resources to bear to counter this. In closing, it is very simple. We need to change or improve what we can, and we need to do it now. The schools need to be hardened as they have become the preferred target of the sick and demented. To think about it, it is truly chilling. It is no longer a matter of if this will happen again. It is a matter of when and where, and to think otherwise is simply avoiding reality and amounts to putting your head in the sand. So it really comes down to this. What are we going to do? Let's start with getting a comprehensive plan for increased school safety on the agenda next meeting, for this meeting, also with the school board on their agenda, and make it a top priority for the township. I know you all work very hard on behalf of the township, and I want to thank you, and thank you for my time to speak.
Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is, anyone else want to speak? All right. Next item is unfinished business. We have an item in this meeting, decision regarding a conditional use requirement for possible traffic improvements related to the proposed Waters Senior Living development.
As you will recall, at our last meeting, this item was on the agenda for action. Council at that time took two actions. One was to table consideration of condition number 4, and the second was to direct the solicitor and the township manager to meet with the developer for the purposes of determining whether or not it was possible to reach an equitable settlement as to how we could go about effectuating having a turning lane through an enhanced traffic impact fee to the township. As you may also recall, that one of my concerns was that when we looked at the framework of the proposal that had been suggested by the Waters Group, the amount, the construction costs that were included in the estimate did not include funds sufficient to cover the cost of engineering the project, as well as the cost of acquiring additional right-of-way to allow for the construction of the turning lanes. We had an opportunity to sit down with the developer and come to a common understanding about what those items would be worth, the result of which is that the enhanced traffic improvement fee would be increased by about $20,000. So what is owed under the traffic impact fee would be something equal to 23.68% of the actual construction cost. That 23% represents the amount of turns, left turns, associated with their group, and of that, 46,233 is their normal traffic impact fee, and we're suggesting that the total enhanced impact fee be $119,861. In addition to that, Waters Group has agreed to waive its right to appeal that fee after a one-year period. They've also agreed to withdraw their appeal that they have filed with the Washington County Court, and the township would incorporate the turning lane project into its transportation capital improvement program. And with that in mind, it's my recommendation that council take two actions. One is first to accept the findings for the traffic study that a left-hand turning lane is required, and that the eventual installation of that turning lane shall be installed in accordance with the framework agreed upon with the Waters Group and the Township. And secondly, that the appropriate officials be authorized to enter into an agreement that memorializes that understanding.
And those would require two separate motions?
You
in your
could do it.
opinion?
You could do it as one, but I think both of those aspects of that motion need to be included.
Okay. Any comments from members of council?
I noticed in the agreement, it references after the therefore clause, that they're going to preserve approximately 3,309 square feet of right-of-way. Right? Do we have a drawing that we could attach to this?
Yes.
That would show where the right-of-way will be?
Yes.
Well, I think it should be referenced in here.
Yeah, the idea behind the preservation of the right-of-way is that if and when the turning lane would be installed, we would need additional right-of-way in front of their property. And rather than to have to go back and acquire that and pay for it at that time, the idea was to acquire that right-of-way now. They estimate the value of that to be about $44,000.
And Mr. Arcuri, I would agree with you. I had not seen what that right-of-way was when I looked at this document, so I think we should amend that to just reflect as shown on Exhibit A.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and just attach that. So
And
but part of your motion would include that if everyone's going to motion.
And I have a question as to, I don't understand why we have to accept the finding of the traffic study. If we're agreeing to put it on as a capital improvement and we're going to enter into this agreement, why do we have to ratify that finding?
Well, I would think that you'd want to do that because the basis upon which you are moving forward is that condition number 4, which required that traffic study be done and provides the basis upon which I think you're accepting this enhanced traffic impact fee is the result of a study that shows that is warranted. That's the only reason I think you would.
Even if they-
I don't agree with the portion of that thing that relates to that the project effects on that traffic there will be negligible or minimal. I don't agree with that.
Well, I don't think that's what the traffic study says.
I thought it did.
Well, no, what the traffic study says is 2 things. Turning lane is needed now, so there is an impact, and when in fact the construction is done, 23% of those left-hand turns, which I think to be a substantial number, will be a result of this development. And so therefore, that's how you get to that enhanced traffic fee.
And your
It didn't say minimal, I mean, it's 23.6.
and the basis for your condition, if they hadn't appealed or done anything, would have been the traffic study to fill out condition 4 as to whether this was even warranted.
Okay.
The biggest problem that I have with this is that I do think that everybody knew that was going to be needed anyway. I think that right now, the comprehensive plan has allowed them to choose that site for a project that is something that's legitimately allowed under our ordinances. But I think one of the failings of our revisions is that we're not really looking at what the infrastructure how the infrastructure is going to be affected. And I personally see this playing out coming in the future, up and down the town center. So from my perspective, I'm not surprised that a left turn lane is needed. Everyone knows that. Anybody who lives here or has worked here probably could have guessed that the results of that traffic study would have said so. I have to agree with Mr. Arcuri, though. I think the impact is still understated as far as what the volume of traffic generated by Waters will be. I had expected it to be a little bit higher, but as we talked about peak versus non-peak time, the 23 or 24% is what the number came out to be. So from my perspective, I don't see any reason to be surprised by what occurred. I'm not necessarily going to vote in favor of it because I feel that it really it hasn't really solved the problem, and it won't solve the problem because we're not going to fix that for some time.
That shouldn't be creating a hardship for Waterford.
I'm not saying that it should.
Okay. But I think they have been certainly very amenable to working with the township in a lot of capacities. So for that, I think we should be commended. Any other comments?
I would like to say that what you have in front of you as a settlement has been reviewed by the Planning Commission and recommended by the Planning Commission, and it's my recommendation that it also represents a fair and equitable settlement to this.
All right, I move that we accept the finding of the traffic study that the left-hand turning lane is required. Eventual installation of the turning lane should be installed in accordance with the framework agreed upon by the Waters Group and the Township. Further, that an appendix be attached to the agreement with a plot plan showing exactly where dedicated property should be, and that the understanding be memorialized and authorize an appropriate township official to execute an agreement with the Waters Group.
I'll second. Any comments from members of the audience? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Sounds like 5.
Abstain.
Sounds like 4-2.
And I didn't vocally say aye because I was hoping perhaps we were going to do a polling vote here, but I voted against the plan because I thought it was in excess. At this point in time, with the majority of this council, approving the plan to go forward, I think it's a reasonable accommodation of what's already been created. So I will vote aye, but at the same point in time, reluctantly.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is new business. And the first item under new business is to authorize the appropriate township official to sign an agreement with the Peters Township Baseball Association for the installation of a synthetic turf infield on field number 2 in Peterswood Park.
At the last meeting, representatives from the Park and Rec Department, as well as representatives from the Peters Township Baseball Association were here for the purposes of presenting a proposal under which synthetic turf would be installed on the infield of Field 2. And the basis upon which that is to be done is that the township is to assume the responsibility for engineering and bidding it, and that the cost of construction will be absorbed by the Baseball Association, and that payment will be made to the township at the point in time when council acts to award the contract. So with that in mind, the Baseball Association has reviewed this, and they have executed the agreement, and it's up to council as to whether or not you wish to proceed.
And we keep using the word infield, so if I look at the semicircle at the top, that's the only element of it.
That's the only element. It's the part that gets muddy in the springtime.
Because at first I thought it was going to be the infield configured similar to what
No,
is down below with the baselines
no.
remaining to be dirt.
No, I think the issue is it's all, they usually do it in a tan color to
Yes.
look like dirt.
Yes, and you're seeing more of these pop up as a way to deal with the scheduling problems created by muddy infields.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the appropriate township official to sign an agreement with the Peters Township Baseball Association for the installment of a synthetic turf infield on field number 2 in Peterswoods Park.
Second.
Any further discussion? Any comments from members of the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. I believe that one is 7-0. Next is a request from Columbia Gas to work at night along East McMurray West McMurray and Route 19 highways, roads, and so forth.
So as you will recall, Columbia Gas did a project along East McMurray Road. In the previous year, they need to finish that project. That project involves working along East McMurray Road, a slight section of West McMurray Road, and up Route 19. PennDOT's preference, and I would think it would be the township's preference, is that this work be completed at night.
When are they going to do the paving? Aren't they going to pave all that?
Well, one of the things that Mark and I have been attempting to do is to make sure that Columbia Gas and PennDOT both realize that East McMurray Road there's going to be reconstruction on it, and that needs to be coordinated. We have been assured that everybody knows everybody's out there, but time will
That's
tell.
great assurance.
The time will tell, because
I feel better already.
Who's issuing this permit and the people doing the reconstruction are two different sections of PennDOT.
How far down East McMurray Road is that going to, this construction proposed to take place?
I think when it ended the last time, it was slightly beyond, going towards the crossroads, slightly beyond the,
It's Heritage Meadows.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like from there to the
Right.
crossroads?
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of residences up there except for...
No.
Just all the business.
Mrs. Merle's brought this up, and I've reiterated her concerns. I mean, where they already have done the work on East McMurray Road right now, I was behind a van today, and he's swerving to miss all of the myriad of potholes that exist on there. It's just, and I don't know, further pipeline work, but can we, I know it's a state road, but can we make requirements that they can't just pave one little strip?
Well, what's going to
They have to
solve
do a
the
whole
problem on East
lane under
McMurray
the
Road is the
ordinance.
reconstruction. But we have a meeting with PennDOT coming up this week where we have a number of issues we want to raise with them, one of them being the condition on East McMurray Road.
Now, will they agree not to jackhammer at night like they agreed to after we went to them during the last stretch of this
Yeah,
project?
remember, we don't want those people calling.
Because even if there aren't a lot of residents along there,
There's some
even,
people in the audience, if you want to directly ask them
Okay.
that question. You guys want to come up?
Reluctant there.
Reluctantly, yeah.
Hi, I'm Katie Geska, field engineer.
Barry Walls, construction lead.
so I'll ask you the question. Will you guys agree not to jackhammer between midnight and 6 a.m.?
I think the point that Paul Mark would bring up, there is, or somebody else brought up also, there virtually is no residents
So that's a no.
in this area.
Well, there's plenty of residents, even along 19. I mean, you're talking, even though you're on a commercial district, I mean, there's houses that are 500 feet away from 19.
Well, plus, I didn't talk about West McMurray. I don't know how far it goes down West McMurray either.
And you're talking, you're going to be in front of the nursing home,
Right by the
jackhammering.
PNC.
We're
at night.
actually stopping right in front of PNC on West McMurray. We're just tying into basically where we were previously.
So the people on the street McNary that comes off of East McMurray, and those homes are who will be affected.
Yeah, so we're not, the only street we are doing up in that section you're talking about is High Street, which is kind of up on the upper end there. We will be tying into the bottom of McNary as well as Pleasant Avenue, right there off of 19th, but it's probably only maybe 100 feet off of both those roads from the main roads.
We actually have obtained private easements where we're not going to be on a state road, and we believe we're going to be able to effectively work daylight shifts without holding any traffic up along East McMurray for the section from, what's the name of that, where we're starting down by our regular?
Heritage Meadows.
Heritage Meadows.
Yeah, we're going to come
Up to,
through where the veterinarian office is and where the comic book store is. We actually have private easement that we obtained and through their parking lot, so we will be able to do that during the day.
Well, again, I'm not going to diminish the impact it's going to have noise-wise on our residents, but certainly it's better to do it in the evening.
Well, I mean,
And it would be to tie up traffic, because that would impact more people. So noise is one thing, sitting in a traffic queue for 15 minutes is another.
Answer to the
Duration of the project?
Excuse me?
What's the duration of the project when you guys can start to finish?
We're hoping to start probably mid-April, mid to late April.
Before school's out, okay.
Well, you've got to get it done because they're going to pave all that I think,
PennDOT, and
God,
I would say probably
before school
September,
starts.
yeah.
Yeah, towards the end of September. Should be very little impact for the school. They're doing the night work like we're talking about. And the night work, once again, is primarily going to be along Route 19.
Okay.
And one of the things I will say, Columbia Gas worked well with us in the school district to make sure that there wasn't impacts, that they were minimized. When we had problems, they addressed them.
If we authorize this and they don't address them, can we revoke it?
I guess you can, because their ability to work in the evening is only based upon your consent, because we have an ordinance against it.
Again, doing it in the daytime frame.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I agree with you. I think, the question is, do you make it disruptive to a few or disruptive to a lot more than that?
Well, one of the things that after Columbia got started last year, it took us a while to get there. We met with them on a regular basis, and I think we would want to start out that way again, so that to the extent that there are problems that people are identifying, we can get them addressed.
Speaking to the issue that Mr. Berquist mentioned, the road deteriorating where the work was done before. If you're using the same subcontractor, you might want to tell them.
I'm curious of where you're talking about.
The whole line.
The whole
Because
length
the
of
road
Rolling
we
Hills
did-
Country Club.
Rolling Hills Country Club, where the entrance is,
from Center Church.
yeah, all the way past.
Do yourself a favor, drive up there.
I know, we just came down that way. I'm very familiar with
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
really
saying.
horrible there on the right-hand side. And there's drainage issues, because there's water
The
there no matter
drains,
what.
whenever we laid that line down through there, which I'm going back to probably 2012, maybe 2011, we laid that line down through there. And you're 100% right, it looks terrible, but there is a great big drain that's in terrible shape. We fought that drain all the way down through there. I don't think that the problem with that is material or the contractor we used on that job. I think it's an issue with PennDOT's drain or whoever drain that belongs to it there. We just did that job 2 years ago, going down past the high school, where that's all mill and paved, and I think that all looks very nice down through there. We did
How
from
long
the...
do you anticipate, if you did this the way you're proposing, how long do you anticipate it's going to take to do that, all the work, if you start in April?
Till about September, probably. Yeah. It's a large project. We actually have that main line running through Forest Lawn Cemetery. That's kind of what we're eliminating. We're putting it out on 19. That's the whole purpose of the project.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much for coming
The one
tonight.
comment I'd like to make, the councilman had concern whether we run the jackhammers at night. I cannot promise that we're not going to run jackhammer at night. It's construction. It's going to be minimal, what we have to do. I could see us running at night, especially up at the crossroads. And fortunately, there's a beginning of the construction, and there's an end of the construction. But we have to
Understood.
be able to get the work done.
Yeah, understood. I just don't want a parade of angry residents in here like we had last year.
I
That's-
think they were so angry last time, the one I believe you're referring to there in front of the schools, that was an emergency situation. We were working around the clock on
Yes.
that one.
Yes.
So I think we were a little bit even more an annoyance to the residents for that one than they'll probably see with this one.
So,
Well, let's hope.
could I ask another question? So are you going to close one side of the road when you do this?
We shouldn't have any effect on McMurray Road.
Okay.
We will have an impact on 19, just being able to load our dirt out, having a dump truck. There's enough right-of-way that we're going to be able to go through the grass strip, through McDonald's and that, but we're going to have to close one off just for safety.
Safety.
But we'll have arrow boards, we have all the precautions that
It
we're
won't,
going
it
to do
won't
on
affect the
this.
southbound lanes of 19, though, right?
No.
Only the northbound lanes, right? Which is-
Yes.
Yeah.
Only the northbound.
Well, we have to cross the crossroads.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah,
from
when
east
we
to
do the
west.
I understand that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion that we grant Columbia Gas's request to work at night along East McMurray, West McMurray, and Route 19.
All right, any comments from members of the audience?
I live on Marion Drive.
Well, you have to, I'm sorry, you got to come up and get on television.
I live on Marion Drive. It's not.
You have to state your name and address.
My name's Don Brown. I live on Marion Drive, 239 Marion. It's not that big a deal. I'd rather mark at night than during the day anytime.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 720. Next, appointment of a member to the Peters Township Sanitary Authority.
Council at the last, prior to the last meeting, had an opportunity to interview 3 candidates. One of those you appointed as an alternate to the Planning Commission. So if council chooses, you have appointment to the Sanitary Authority from the 2 remaining candidates.
I'll move that we appoint Robert Burns to the Peters Township Sanitary Authority.
Second that motion.
I'm sorry.
I'm seconding.
Okay, thank you.
I'm trying to figure out.
All right, any further comments from members of council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 720. Mr. Robert Burns is a new member of the Peters Township Sanitary Authority.
I think we should keep Mr.
Congratulations and good luck to him.
I think we should keep Mr. Johnson's
Johnson Ball.
He's not going anywhere.
In queue.
Keep him in queue. I would agree. Again,
He was highly qualified as well.
lots of very good candidates. As always, a lot of very impressive candidates that we interviewed for this position. So, next, authorize the appropriate township official to sign an easement designed to facilitate the extension of a sanitary sewer.
We need to address D.
Alternate member
D.
to the zoning hearing.
Oh, you know what? I X'd out.
I'm going to move that we table that to the next meeting because I think there was some issue that came up about liens and stuff or something like that, that I think we should just wait till the next meeting.
We can get that straightened.
As long as somebody seconds it.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are tabling that till next meeting. Next, authorize the appropriate township official to sign an easement designed to facilitate the extension of a sanitary sewer by the Peters Township Sanitary Authority.
One of the things that we had asked the Sanitary Authority to help us with was the extension of the public sewers along Meredith Drive to facilitate connection to the new stage. Prior to this, that stage was serviced by an on-lot system that was failing. In exchange for that, the Sanitary Authority asked the township if it could give them an easement that would allow us to extend public sewers eventually to the homes on the far end of Meredith Drive, as well as a portion of Rotary Drive. We were able, through the township's engineer and the Sanitary Authority's engineer, to come up with a path for that will not impede our future use of that property. So we're recommending that council authorize the appropriate officials to sign an easement that facilitates that connection.
I'll make a motion that we authorize the appropriate township official to approve the easement.
I'll second.
Do we see any future in its ability to connect to the rest station that we just constructed with a storage tank?
When we eventually get that sewer, it's going to come from a different direction. So it's going to come somewhere to Sugar Camp Road. So we don't have the
ability to
do that right now. So
this is a different thing, but what about Peters Lake? Like, we wanted to extend the sewers down there so we could maybe at some point put a public restroom in instead of those porta-johns. Could we have them look at that to see what that would run?
Yeah, you know what? We can engage the Sanitary Authority in that discussion. One thing I will say...
I know it doesn't have anything to do with this issue, but it just jogged my memory.
Well, one thing I will say, and you'll see this in the next item as well, with Enoch Jenkins as the manager of the Sanitary Authority, there's been a lot of cooperation and working together to try to solve some township issues. So this would be a perfect example of something they may be able to help us with. So.
Okay, thank you.
So since we're piling on about that, what about the people at the part of Bebout, right near the overpass, the trail underpass, overpass, who also are without sanitary.
They are without sanitary sewers, they are without water. I have looked into this prior to my looking into it. Mr. Silvestri had looked into this, and there is just no feasible way without tremendous expense to bring sewer or water to either of those individuals.
Okay,
I'd like to know where those are, Michael. Let me know after.
we have a motion?
I second it.
Okay.
And it was been seconded. So.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0. Our township officials are going to be busy because now we want to authorize the appropriate township official to sign an agreement with the Peters Township Sanitary Authority and the Peters Township School District to facilitate upgrades to the existing Stonehenge trunk sewer so as to provide the capacity necessary for the school district's high school and the township's future facilities.
I'll make a motion that we approve that, subject to obviously the school district's concurrence therein.
Second.
But I'd like, can we just reiterate again what exactly we've agreed to?
Sure. Normally, if a developer was to come in and you had as is the case of the interceptor that services the former Rolling Hills property, the developer would be responsible for all costs associated with improvement of the interceptor. I had approached Mr. Jenkins to explain to him that what was occurring here was something different. This is a public project to which the community was invested, both in terms of the school district's high school as well as the future park. And so what Sanitary Authority has agreed to do is to absorb a third of the cost of that project. They normally, like I said, would not be doing that. We then determined between the school district and the township that the remaining share, an equitable arrangement would be that they assume 57% of the cost and the township assume 10% of the cost. Now, we don't know for sure what this project is going to cost it. It's still in the process of being engineered. The estimates are as high as $700,000. One of the things that we have encouraged, and again, I give the Sanitary Authority credit for, that they applied for a grant that's available for small sewer projects. This really meets that bill. I can tell you they had other projects in the queue, but they recognized the nature of this and the need for it in the community. And so that application is probably going in tomorrow, and we will be meeting with DCED, the people who fund that grant, on Wednesday to impress upon them the need for their assistance with that project as well as other grant opportunities up there.
Are you saying that you think that the whole project would be $700,000 or just the engineering?
No, $700,000 to construct the project.
Oh, okay.
Dr. French is in the audience, and if you said $700,000 to engineer it, she might faint.
Well, that's what I thought I heard it.
She would not be alone. But first off, Paul, I mean, nice job. I think it's commendable that the various organizations within the township have all tried to come up with an agreement that's fair and equitable for all. How did you determine the percentages?
It was kind of a rough guess as to how many flushes are coming out of the high school and how many are coming out of the restrooms. Because
you ever seen the kids after soccer practice?
We don't, we really don't know what that will be and how quickly the township will develop its portion. And we're, quite honestly, we would not normally need to contribute anything because the first one to develop would assume all the responsibility. But I personally didn't think that was equitable. And
well, 10% doesn't seem to be unreasonable.
And we know how much a fan Mr. Ball is of building bathrooms in the township anyhow. So.
Is that right?
All right.
Not yet.
No one's made a motion.
Yes, I made a motion.
yeah, give a motion in a second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And that is also 7-0. Next is a resolution amending the Peters Creek Regional Act 537 plan, accepting the clarification to the basis of design as prepared by the Clareton Municipal Authority. This is something we have been dealing with, not only from the standpoint that it's cut off our taps on one part of the township, Peters Creek sanitary area. So I think this is something that's going to be...
Yes. So where we are, we had that joint meeting with the member communities for the Peters Creek Sanitary Authority here. Out of that came a proposal that was put forward by the Peters Creek Sanitary Authority that we agree to the changes in the basis of design as proposed by the Clark Municipal Authority, conditioned upon a number of things. The remaining communities of the Peters Creek Sanitary Authority have all taken action on this and have approved it. The Clark Municipal Authority has indicated to the Peters Creek Sanitary Authority that if Peters Township would also provide these assurances with these conditions, that they would accept that and use that as a basis for releasing the taps. Do I think that this is an ideal solution? No, but I think it's a solution that does get us moving forward. I do believe that we owe it to the people in that are serviced by Peters Creek Sanitary Authority and Peters Township to continue to pursue representation on the Clark Municipal Board. The solicitor from the authority has indicated that he's willing to continue those discussions, even with this approved, and I think we ought to take him up on that. So with that in mind...
Yeah, I don't think we should let that die. I just hope they don't get this agreement signed and then forget about it.
Well, I think one of the things is, and I was expressing this to Mr. Ball before the meeting, I think this is going to come back to you again. I think that no one knows what the total cost of this project is yet because it hasn't been engineered. And until it's engineered, I don't know, all these numbers are just wild guesses. And it wouldn't surprise me that this comes back to the township for another amendment to the Act 537 plan, but I don't know that.
But have they turned the taps back?
They will.
They released the taps once we sign the agreement.
Because everybody else has signed off.
Yeah.
It's the other ones that have held
Let
out.
me just express my opinion again. This is not a solution. It's a Band-Aid. And it doesn't solve a thing. All it does is just pushes the can down the road. It's what we have is a result of an incompetent engineering effort. We apparently designed a project where nobody seemed to be aware of what was going on, and putting a third-party audit in place resolves nothing. Okay, so we found out what the problem was. It doesn't solve anything going forward. Submitting monthly scheduled updates, great. Now we know that we're going to be in trouble a little bit quicker. That doesn't solve anything. Detailed scope of work, schedules, budget updates, great. More information, but it doesn't resolve the problem of engineering a project properly. We're going to be back here, whether it's a year or 2 years or whenever the next problem arises, for another $5 million or however many $1 million it is, and they're going to turn off the taps again and hold us hostage for whatever the next issue is. I feel badly for the developers. I understand their problem. I feel badly for all the other people affected by it, but I can't in good conscience say that by agreeing to this plan, by increasing the sewage rates for all of the people, not only in Peters Township, part of this plan, but all along the route, that we're solving anything. All we're doing is saying to these people who have not managed a project properly, okay, fine, continue to not manage it properly, and we'll keep paying for it. That's not right.
Mr. Bowe, I probably agree with you and have been aware of this issue from the very beginning, since the majority of my district is in Peters Creek Sanitary Authority watershed. I don't disagree at all. I think that you're absolutely right. This isn't going to fix the attitude of the Clark Municipal Authority, nor the attitude of the engineers. However, we're at a stalemate right now, and at this point in time, they're trying to move forward. I think it's incumbent on us to be very clear to Peters Creek Sanitary Authority that they need to be aggressive in pursuing other resources, other solutions. As Mr. Lauer said, there needs to be representation. There needs to be a seat at the table so that there can be part in the decision-making, not just reacting and opening up the pocketbook.
Well,
So
what
I
does-
agree with you 100%, but I'm not sure what alternative there is other than to move ahead with this solution so we can at least move ahead.
There is a solution. I mean, instead of, prepare an independent third-party audit, why don't we spend that money for a third-party engineering firm to oversee what's going on? Somebody that knows what they're doing, maybe.
Yeah, Dave, I agree with you in the basic premise, but Mrs. Merrill's right. We have to keep moving this thing forward. And any other solution is going to be extremely time-consuming.
But where does it get us to move it forward? I mean, it gets us...
At least gets us taps back on.
Great, so we get the taps back on, and a year from now, we're going to pony up another $5 million. Or more.
No, maybe
But-
by that time we
But
can
again, I
actually sue
think
them.
we continue to pursue representation on the board to be able to facilitate what Mr. Ball's talking about. from the engineering
Representation.
We have to keep in mind, though, that the representation on that board would still be a minority representation, which really wouldn't help very much at all. And I agree with Mr. Ball has indicated, and I agree with his position. I really do feel that, we're being held hostage. And I'm assuming that it is an intentional thing. It was more of a just inability to adequately or accurately predict the budget for this matter. I mean, for something to go from 40 million to, what, 57? Is that what it was, Mr. Lauer? I mean, that's a big increase, and we don't even know if that is going to be the end, but I can see Mrs. Merrill's point, and I can sympathize with the developers, and I really don't see, like, the only other alternative would be to hold out. And I don't know if that wouldn't get us anywhere. It'd probably get us sanctioned by the DEP for not complying.
Well, then let the DEP be the one that says, you guys got to be stupid.
All right, well,
that's
again, it's, as we all know, this is not, there is no easy solution to this issue. And we're in a bad position being involved with the Clairton Sewer Authority. So I'll make a motion that we accept Council Resolution number 02.04.18, amending the Peters Creek Regional Act 537 plan.
Second.
Any members of the audience want to talk about sewers? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
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 Mr. Lauer, roll call, please.
4-3.
4-3?
Yeah, 4-3. Frank and Dave.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Where were you guys years ago?
Next item on the, I just didn't hear a couple, so that's why I was asking. Next is the request for the Peters Township School District for a departure from regulations governing the height of walls, retaining walls.
So Peters Township has a regulation that restricts the height of retaining walls to 6 feet. This is a site plan for the new high school. There are 2 areas where the school district is proposing that the height of the walls exceed that limit.
How much?
Well, that's what I was going to show you.
It's more than
If you
6.
look at the request in this area, it's actually fairly de minimis.
Fairly de minimis.
Fairly de minimis. It's 2 feet over a fairly short section, and it faces in as opposed towards the building as opposed to out. So I don't think that represents a tremendous departure, and it's one that we should be that concerned about. The other wall is located in this area. And what causes the need for this wall is that there is this service road that is passing through here, and it is passing between two areas that have been delineated as wetlands. So to be able to avoid encroachment onto that, they are proposing that there be a substantial wall. And that wall is 16 and a half feet, and it is 16 and a half feet over an extended distance, approximately 55 feet.
Is there going to be
10 feet over for 55 feet.
Yes.
Is there going to be a fence or something along the top of it?
The architect is here from the school district and the civil engineer, and they can explain what they intend to do.
Yeah, the photo that's in our docket, what part?
Yeah, what's that?
What part of the, because that doesn't look like, I mean, that wall's only
3 feet high.
4 feet high.
All that is, one of my concerns was what aesthetically this wall would look like. And so, was it going to be, unit blocks like you would see, like we have used out in the park, or was it going to be jumbo blocks like we've seen on some of the commercial sites? And what they intend to do is a decorative wall, a Versalock wall, or a keystone system.
Like
yes.
it's
Yeah, something like that.
Pink?
As opposed to pink? I have no idea. I don't think I've gotten that far.
I love the pink.
But
I like the pink. All right.
Bring up the architect.
I'm the engineer.
The engineer.
I'm Chris Rumley with Civil and Environmental Consultants. We're the site engineer on the project. But the picture in there was a representation just of the material and potential color, the Saratoga. So is this the picture you're referring to?
Saratoga.
Yeah. So that's just a representation of what the wall would look like once it's in place. But that's not the actual wall. It's just Lampus marketing material.
Okay. It's not going to have a cap on it.
No, it would have fall protection on the top.
This is a lot prettier than what we're talking about.
Yeah. This is just a simple retaining wall.
So we're clear on that.
Yeah.
When you say it will have fall protection, what do you mean?
There'll be a guide rail on the top because there's a travel lane, obviously for vehicles. So making sure that there's no vehicles that could go over the side there.
Well, we want to protect our wetlands.
Oh, so the road would be on the side.
The road will be up high, and then it'll be a drop down. So there will be a guide rail there.
How much space between the curb and the wall? If I can tell from these.
Picture.
It's on here.
Is it?
It's probably about five feet. There'll be a curb. There'll be a 6-inch curb, and then there'll be a guide rail on top of that, and then there'll be a flat area for about 5 feet, and then there'll be the top of the wall, and then the fall. So there'll be a decent amount of protection there for the vehicles.
Is your firm the engineering firm designing the wall?
No, we graded the wall in as part of the site plan. The actual engineering will be done by the site contractor. It's part of our planning commission approval that they must provide a sealed design of the actual retaining wall and then submit that as part of a submittal before construction. So,
is there any way we can curve the guardrail at the end so that we don't have a situation where somebody's going to try to walk in that 5-foot area and end up tumbling over the wall?
Yeah, to kind of seal it off there.
Right.
Yeah. Usually there's some rounded ends on that anyway.
Right. Are you aware of how many failures there have been done in western Pennsylvania with retaining walls?
Yeah. We have geotechnical engineers on our staff, and we deal with that quite a bit. But
no, I'm saying it's the geotechnical engineers that have allowed the failures to occur.
Will you be working with the
None of
latest
ours, of
company
course.
for the engineering?
No, it's the site contractor. He'll be responsible for the.
But Lampus will.
Whoever the main, yeah. Well, it depends. Yeah, they would be involved because they are the manufacturing material. Correct. But it will be a sealed submittal by a professional engineer.
As was the one at JCPenney.
Right, that's exactly what we're thinking about.
The retaining wall at Valley Brook and 19 seems to be doing okay.
That's the Zabo one. How high is that one?
20 plus feet.
Yeah.
Stacked on top of each other.
And we have, again, CEC has registered engineers. We seem to be somewhat reluctant to that. But we will be reviewing that submittal as part of our contract with the school district. So that will come in by a professional engineer, will be reviewed by professional engineers, and that should be a good check to make sure that everything's been accounted for appropriately there.
Is there an alternative to the wall that just costs more, and that's why they're going in this direction?
Well, yeah, the reason that we need the wall, obviously there's the natural resources there that we're protecting. Otherwise, we would just grade that down at a normal slope and there would be no wall. Yeah, the wetland issue is there. Certainly one thing we could do would be to shift the entire site towards to the right to grade and come up, but we would lose, the district would lose a lot of parking. That's the student parking there on the left.
Okay.
And they're trying to maximize the amount of stalls that they're going to have for the students. So by pushing that to the right, to grade that through and get rid of the wall, we would lose a substantial amount of that parking lot. So it's kind of being caught between a rock and a hard place, if you will, with the wetland on one side and trying to maintain those parking stalls.
The wetlands in a hard place.
Yeah, a soft spot and a hard place, I guess, technically. But.
Well, they probably should play Mr. Ball's golf balls in that wetland.
What will travel on that road? Is that for general?
No, that's not general traffic. That's only for, really in that general area, it'd really only be access down to the bottom. There's a practice field parking lot. There's a practice field on the bottom left there. There's a little lot there. So a lot of the traffic coming down through there would be for that. That's access to the parking lots. The bottom road right now is an alternative road. If that road is determined to be built, we would have some traffic coming up through there, but it's all internal to folks accessing the school in the parking lot, the student parking lot. So it should be a fairly slow travel.
I'll make a motion that we, let's see where we are, that we grant the school district's request for the departure for the regulations governing the height of the walls, subject to the drawing specifications. So it would be 10.5 feet for the 50 and whatnot and so forth, plus what Mr. Koser said about the guardrails and whatnot, and that they be curved so that we can have access onto the 5-foot area.
And I would also like, if you could, to incorporate Mr. Zemaitis' recommendations with regard to the wall, as well as the fact that it should be a decorative segmented wall.
Absolutely. I'll include those all in my motion.
And I'll second.
You seconded?
I second.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any comments from members of the audience? Members of council?
I'm going to vote no. I just have been involved in too many walls that have come down. And
Jericho?
I'm not at all comfortable with regard to the concept of a contractor coming back with a plug and chug formula for where his analysis comes from.
Well, we didn't let, the other thing is too, we didn't let the sheets do it when they wanted to go in. Remember, they wanted to.
Yeah, that was tight. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
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 Uh-oh. Donald Trump's going to be mad against walls. All right. Next, resolution authorizing the destruction of township records in accordance with the township's municipal records manual.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution of the records destruction according to the requirements of the municipalities' records.
Just, we do this every
Annually.
year. This
We
is
do this annually, yeah.
cleansing, so to speak.
Yeah,
So-
right.
All right, any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That one is 7-0. Mr. Lauer, next. Authorize the appropriate township official to sign an agreement. Once again, you guys are at work again.
That appropriate official is you, Mr. Burke.
Yeah.
With the Peters Township School District governing the collection of property taxes.
Well, one of the things with our new tax collector, Mr. Jaworski, we discovered was that we hadn't revisited this agreement since 1994, and many things have changed, including the fact that we no longer collect the earned income tax here. So this is an effort to bring that agreement in line with what, in fact, is the current practice.
Bring it into modern day.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion that we authorize the appropriate township official to sign an agreement with the Peters Township School District governing the collection of property taxes.
Second.
Any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The school board is certainly, Peters Township School District certainly on our agenda tonight. Next is approval of the Brookwood Village final plan as shown by drawings prepared by Gibson Thomas Engineering Company dated January 9th, 2018 for Brookwood Village LLC.
I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Zook. The developer is also in the audience.
Very patient.
What's that? They've been patient.
They've been very patient.
Council saw this plan in October. They approved the preliminary plan. We're now in the final plan stage. The final plan was reviewed by Planning Commission on January 18, and they recommended council approve it subject to those 7 conditions listed in my report. It's a mixed residential overlay district. They're using the new zoning ordinance in developing this plan. It is 20 patio homes. The plan that's being presented in the final stage conforms to the plan that Planning Commission and Council saw on the preliminary plan. And like I said, Planning Commission did approve it, or recommended it be approved January 18th. And if the developer would like to add to that, they're certainly welcome.
Okay.
Good evening, John Schleicher with Gibson Thomas Engineering. And as Mr. Zook indicated, we've been at this quite a while. We actually, I think our first submittal was exactly a year ago, last February. So we've been working with Township staff and planning director and worked through the preliminary review process with the engineer, of course. And we're back with as more or less a formality. But if you'd like, I did prepare a presentation if you'd like me to go through quickly. Otherwise, if there's any questions, I'll be glad to.
Now, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the Brookwood Village final plan as shown on drawings prepared by Gibson Thomas Engineering Company dated January 8, 2018 for Brookwood Village LLC, subject to any conditions that were previously imposed by the Planning Commission that are still unfulfilled and uncompleted.
Terry, do we have anything that would represent what some of the units would look like?
Yes.
Was that in your presentation?
It certainly is.
I thought we did this already when you came before, but
Yeah, we did have
a little bit.
We've refined them a little bit. But we did have, but
Let's see your presentation.
see a little slideshow.
Hence the word quick, you did say.
10-4. These are some front elevations of the different unit options. They will be all brick and stone, maybe some cementitious material, but no vinyl.
Cementitious?
Yeah, it's a
Hardy stuff.
hardy plank, hardy board. Yeah, yeah.
He's never heard that word before.
Cementitious.
But they will be, vast majority of them will be stone with those other materials as accents. Again, the patio home concept, first floor master, first floor garage, first floor living, 1.5 story, couple bedrooms upstairs, again, the master on the first floor. There's kind of a mix. Half will be kind of high side units where first floor is at grade all the way around. About half the units will have walkout basements in the rear portion of the unit. Low maintenance, and we've added some amenities. There's sidewalk, there's landscaping, some mounding around the perimeter. And
that was quick.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Could I ask one question about this? The numbers on the houses, they don't represent addresses, do they?
No, those are just different options the designer put together, 1, 2, 3,
No, I meant
and 4.
on the plan here, the way it's numbered, 102, 102.
On the final subdivision plan, yes, the addresses are provided on there.
Okay, can you explain something to me then? I'm just confused. You go in Gino Drive and you start with 101, 102, 103. You're numbering in consecutive order on the right, and across the street is 120 and 119.
Those are lot numbers.
Yeah, those are lot numbers.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
I thought they were lot numbers, and that's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, the addresses, are they on this particular slide?
They are not on that slide.
Are they going to be just like normal plans?
Yes.
Odd and even?
Yes.
Yeah,
And the township assigns those numbers.
Yes.
Okay, and then the corner houses, can they
They
be
have
decided
two
when-
addresses.
Okay, thank you, I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
I'll add one thing here.
Oh, go ahead.
All new residential neighborhoods in Peters are required to have cluster mailboxes.
Oh.
There's no individual.
Every development?
All the new
All
ones.
new residential developments, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Even patio homes,
Single family, too.
Well, unless you buy a lot and build your own house, that would be.
all single-family developments in both Venetia and McMurray require cluster mailboxes.
Interesting.
All delivery.
All right.
Yeah, well.
Thank you for your...
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion second. Any audience comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. That sounds like 7-0. And
There's the next one.
misplaced them.
Here, we're up to, here.
Oh, there we are.
You got it?
Next is the approval of the Brookwood Place final plan as shown on drawings prepared by Wind Ridge Engineering, dated January 23rd, 2018, for Donegal Land Partners, LLC.
Council saw this plan in September of 2017. You approved the preliminary plan. The request before you tonight is for final plan approval. Planning Commission did approve or recommended this plan be approved on January 18th, subject to those 6 conditions listed in my report. Again, this is a mixed residential overlay. This Brookwood Place is 38 townhomes. Everything is in order. Stormwater, erosion, sanitary's been approved, so it's in a position to be approved by council tonight, and any approval should be subject to those remaining conditions that haven't been satisfied.
Well, they've certainly improved the look of the front elevations of the homes. I'm certainly very happy with that.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the final plan for Brookwood Place, subject to the conditions set forth by the Planning Commission.
Second.
All right, any further comments? Any comments by members of the audience? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. That sounds like 7-0. Next is payroll and bills.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the payroll and bills. I find them to be in order. I make a motion that we approve the payroll and bills.
Second.
Any comments from members of council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 7-0. Next item is correspondence.
I would say there's a letter in your docket that's an invitation.
Juan
Cichitana.
With regard to it.
I represent somebody in their family I represented. I
I
know
could have butchered that name. Appreciate it.
There's an
So-
So that's an invitation to members of council if they wish to attend that training.
Are you going?
The township will be represented by its emergency management coordinator.
That's all we need to know.
Yeah,
All right.
very good. Anything under reports? None. Miscellaneous. Garbage collection bid.
Yes, we're in the process of working with the South Hills Area Council of Governments for developing bid documents to bid garbage service beginning for January of next year. One of the problems that we have, and we have it on some regular basis whenever there's a holiday in the week, is that, as you well know, the pattern is if the holiday's on Monday, it moves back collection.
Everyone's back.
For some reason, when collection on Friday gets moved to Saturday, trucks break down, drivers don't show up, and what happens is residents are left with no way to resolve the problem on that day because we're not here. And so there's a fair number of angry people on a regular basis on a Monday morning because their garbage is still sitting there. So Upper St. Clair had this same problem, and their solution was to require the contractor to have collection on 4 days, so that when everything gets moved back a day, collection moves on till Friday. It's a business day. They're there to help residents solve their problems. Now, the only problem with this is you will be moving the collection day for lots of people in town if we move from 4 days to 5 days. I don't know that that's the end of the world, but there will be an effort to notify people. There will be a transition, but right now it's a problem.
Life is about change, Paul. I think we can all adapt to that.
Change is good.
Right.
And in this case, very good. So, I mean, I think that would be something, you miss it once or twice, and then you figured, it's a lot better, remember, when we went to the every other week for recycling.
Yeah, we learned a lesson there.
As long as I don't change mine, I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully you're not picked up on Friday.
That's what I mean.
Well, Friday won't matter.
Yeah.
But, so pickup would normally be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's an open day.
When you have a holiday
on Monday.
That pushes everybody on Friday.
What do we do?
But if there's a holiday on Thursday, like Thanksgiving.
It pushes those people still on to Friday. And so
Okay.
I think in the long run, it will be far less dissatisfying.
Do you think that might have an impact on bidding?
No. The contract's too big for any of these special conditions to affect bidding.
Okay.
And to the recycling bins, if we go to another carrier collection,
We own those bins. And
but I
so
thought they were guaranteed, or
they're guaranteed for 10 years by the manufacturer.
Oh.
And so we own those bins and they come with us.
Okay.
So,
But the deal is going to be based on automatic pickup of those containers, and then we're at liberty to have whatever.
well, the way this has been, there's a number taken for to continue exactly what we do now. Unlimited garbage collection and automated recycling. We can continue what we're doing. There's also going to be a bid taken for automated collection of garbage. And Ryan and I and Shaycog are arm wrestling about how to define that service. Because one of the problems that you have in the South Hills, unlimited garbage collection has been the rule for years and years. And so when you go to a automated garbage container, there's limitations on how much can go out. And we're trying to work with Shaycog to come up with a scheme that allows the vast majority of people to continue to get all of the garbage they generated picked up, but to have it picked up in an automated fashion.
but the automated fashion typically has a cover.
Yes.
A lid attached, just
Yeah.
like our recycling
Yes.
bin, which I thought at one point EQB, our Environmental Quality Board, wanted us to go
yes.
to make a requirement of lids on garbage.
Absolutely. And they would prefer containers to bags. You see, if you drive around town, you'll see a lot of bags sitting out. that
That's
aren't
what I'm starting to
containers.
think of, that these people that have 25 or 30 grass clippings, I suppose, out there, what are they supposed to do with it? If you go to a container that you can get 3.
Well, and again, we're trying to work with Shaycog to make sure that when they structure the bid, there is something that might work to create automated collection in Peters Township. We're not there yet, to be quite honest with you.
Okay.
So how would that affect odd things people put out? Your old lawn furniture or your old...
There's
Those
still a way to collect that
Okay,
as
so
large
that
bulk
would-
items.
Okay.
I think that has to be addressed, because otherwise I think Mr. Lewis's example is people are going to figure out a way to get rid of that extra stuff, and it might not be
And it'll be over a hill.
ecologically friendly.
Yes.
It's easy for you to say. All right.
Hey, I got yeah, now I can't say.
We got, just one second, Bob. We got a couple, dead trees along Valley Brook Road.
We have put both Verizon and the property owner on notice. We've given them 10 days. Our intention is, if those trees aren't addressed, and I don't think they will be, we intend to both cite Verizon and the property owner. We have filed a complaint with the PUC. That certainly has gotten Verizon's attention. So we're going to try to move forward and see whether or not we get something done.
And then...
So that means we don't have to pay our our bill and say
Mr.
you're not
Atkins
required to
said
pay the
he'll be
disputed
sent.
portion of your bills? Can we just?
Yeah, normally you file this when you have a billing problem. We have.
Request to use Peters Lake Park as a setting for a movie.
Yeah, Netflix has a series that they're running. They want to film or record a small portion of that on our lake with a 12-foot boat with a small motor.
It's going to be one day.
One day,
I'm all for it
$2,500.
as long as I can be what do they call it, as a stand?
Get extras.
An extra, yeah.
We'll see what we can do.
All right. I don't have a problem with that.
No. Do you need a motion?
You want to
Yes.
acknowledge the,
All right, I'll make a motion that we grant the request to use Peters Lake Park as a setting for a movie for one day.
I'll second.
For $2,500.
We got a lot of, they
Yeah,
can
we
use
have-
gas too.
And we need a little credit in the.
Oh, yeah.
I'll see what we can do.
Thank you to.
We need a credit
yes.
in there. Thanks
Gotta have a
to
credit.
the, Peters Township
Council.
for letting us use it, whatever.
Yep.
All right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passes 7-0.
I have one miscellaneous item that's not on the agenda. At the last meeting, I made reference to the fact that Mr. Coyle was asked to meet with the Personnel Committee. We need to set a date for that. I was going to suggest we do not have a meeting next Monday, and if the Personnel Committee was available, we could do it then.
What's the date next Monday?
It's
The 5th?
March 5th.
March 5th. The other possibility is if the Personnel Committee, I don't know whether you're available during the day or not. That would be also a possibility. It could be any time then.
Who's on there besides? I know I'm on. Me?
We went through this last meeting.
Me, the three of us, me, and whatever you guys prefer. If you want to do it sometime in the morning, I'm like 8:30ish, I'm okay, as long as I don't have to be before. Or we can do it next Monday. It's up to you guys.
Well, let's try to get it morning.
6 in the morning on Monday.
Not 6 in the morning.
So 8:30 in the morning, you're going to let me know what day that is. I would like to be present for that. So.
Okay. Well, I'll, if I remember tomorrow, I'll check my calendar to see when I'm available. But are you guys pretty much available anytime or any day?
I'll look at my calendar. I think that's all right.
Okay. All right, I'll write myself a little note.
Robert?
There's been a young man in the back of the audience who probably needs a nudge at the moment.
Yeah.
If he would rise and come forward, tell us his name, why he's here, and offer any comments of things that we did wrong today.
He's asking himself that right now.
That's me, right? You're the young man in the back.
You're the only one in the scout uniform.
Oh, true.
Hi, my name is Aaron Brown. And I have a couple compliments for you guys today. And I do agree on the majority of things that you said, and that's all. And my question is, what do you see Peters Township going forward into 2018? How do you see it as a success or as a failure?
Well, it's not going to fail. It isn't quite as full of the challenges as we were a couple of years ago when we had to replace our entire staff. So in that respect, I have to think that it's an upbeat year, and we're looking forward to doing the park. I would assume the young people are interested in what we can do in the park, and we would like volunteers to come forward with ideas of how you might come up with Eagle projects and things like that.
All right.
What troop are you with?
1017 Prosperity.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank
I like
you for
your
coming.
uniform. I don't know what all the, I don't know, badges
Paul
are.
probably knows what all this means.
Paul does?
All right, any,
Thank you.
any items on, for anyone for the next agenda?
Yes, could you give us an update on where we are with planning for the firehouse improvements? I
Yes.
saw we paid lap 8 for something.
Yes. We can provide you drawings.
Okay.
What about that issue that the gentleman raised tonight about the safety concerns?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too.
I don't think that we have the authority to do anything, but I don't think it would be a bad idea if maybe we asked the school district to maybe look into that and see what they would be willing to do.
Do you really not think they're looking over?
Well, I was going to say, I think one, I think they have been paying attention. There's two, one of the things that's really so far worked really well is the school district has engaged the police department and the fire department in the design of the school. So one of the things that they've been looking at is this whole idea of how do you secure that building in such a way that, in fact, the kids in that school can be safe, whether they need to exit quickly for a fire or they need to address, unfortunately, something like an active shooter situation. So within the high school, I think that is working well. The one thing that occurs in May of each year is that we're in contact with the school district with regard to our school resource officer and whether that program should be continued for another year. In light of what's been happening, one of the questions that I intend to pose to the school district is, do you want to extend school resource officers to additional buildings? And if so, are you prepared to do it on the basis on which we do this now? When the officer is in the school district's paying for it. The township assumes the responsibility for that officer the other 3 months of the year. If the community decides that that isn't something that's important to them, I think the township should be prepared to assume the cost for those officers during those summer months. But I don't know where the school district
What
is.
does an officer cost a year? 100 grand?
100 grand easy, yeah.
So right now, where do we have the resource officers? And there are
There is one that is located at the high school. In addition to that, you have a DARE officer who's in the school, but he's there more on an instructional basis as opposed to being a school resource officer. But when he is in that building, he is acting in the capacity.
He's armed, right?
Yes,
And
he's acting.
what building is he in, or does he rotate?
He's in the elementary schools and the middle school, but he is not there for extended periods of time. He is not like the school resource officer. That program covers a small portion of the academic year, and it's very limited the amount of time he's actually in school.
And his comment that somebody going to the middle school, I recall going in for basketball games and things in the evening, that
It's always chained on that left
they
side.
haven't, yeah, they haven't blocked
I think he was
off.
talking about McMurray, not
What's that?
He was talking about McMurray, not the middle school.
But
Oh, I thought he said middle school. He
I
said
thought,
middle school.
did he say McMurray?
I thought he said
middle school.
McMurray.
And I know every time I've gone in there with my son played basketball, there was always a big chain, like
Fence.
Right,
You
fence,
couldn't
right.
get in
Couldn't get
anyway.
into
So I
school,
don't know,
yeah.
unless there's some other door.
Gate, I call it gate.
But the buildings are more secure during the day than they are in the evening, and that point's a fair point,
Sure.
I think.
I would agree, so I'm glad we addressed
I
it.
just
The
think
challenge-
it's something we should deal with,
Right, the challenge they face is there are so many activities going on,
Yes.
particularly at the high school, that there are people in there constantly, even
Yes.
on the weekends and into the evening. And so the question is, how do you manage that?
Yes.
And either allow the access or restrict it,
Yeah.
or else provide some other security. So it is a challenge, but they are actively looking at it for the new school as well as for the renovations at the high school once they turn that into the middle school. And then the rest they have to follow through on too.
The only other item I have is I've had some complaints from some residents about the fire lane up at Donaldson's Crossroads, and in particularly the portion that's like in front of Giant Eagle. I mean, the other day when I noticed it the other day, I mean, there's people that just stop there and like unload and load. There's a van that comes and lets people on and off. I mean, the reason that fire lane is there is exactly what it's named for. I mean, you're not supposed to be stopping and standing there. And once that happens, it's already congested up there. It's ridiculous. And I think maybe, we have to have some enforcement up there to try to cut down on that, at least during peak hours.
Let me bring that to Chief Crime's attention. They periodically enforce in that area. It may have been a while since we have done that. I think people tend to forget, and so I think we maybe need to remind people.
Just like making the left turn off of West McMurray Road into CVS.
Yes,
Yeah.
sort of same thing.
We never did figure that one out, did we?
Go ahead.
I know in the recent storms, there have been several flooding issues that have occurred, some of which may have been unique to, the recent events versus the continuing. Is that changing our plans for projects we're going to consider, or where are we headed with?
Mark and I have been talking about it. We're going on a bus tour this year. Look at that, right?
We could do
All
that
that
if
flooding.
you want, we could do that.
No, I don't.
No, the answer is no. It hasn't changed our plans significantly. I mean, we've come up with a couple small projects that I don't think is going to have a major show-stopping effect on anything that we're already planning. I mean, a couple of inlets here or there, for small storm sewer extension, but
I'm most sensitive to my neighbors on Fawn Valley.
Right.
And I'm certain their problem isn't unique to some of the other locations.
no, it's not. And there's other areas, but for that particular one, I think a small project. I even talked to Public Works. I think we can do that one in-house. And there's a couple others, but
no logic in my mind relative to the volume of water that came down versus what was experienced by the property owner. I mean, we've had those type storms before without those consequences.
we did, in that particular instance, we fished out of the storm sewer system a couple railroad ties, a tire was stuck in the storm sewer system. So, I don't think it wasn't blocked, it wasn't flowing at 100% capacity too. So I think the head wall upstream of your neighbors there on Fawn Valley was overtopping, but they've had that problem before, I think, even with a clear storm sewer. So the only thing that I can tell too, we've had these rains, we had 7 inches of rain in the middle of the winter. That's a lot different than a summer rainstorm too. I've been telling people you get 2 inches of rain in February, it's like getting 4 inches in July just because the ground's saturated, there's no evapotranspiration from the trees occurring. So it seems to hit us harder all the time when these events happen in the winter.
Is there anything from PennDOT on sugar camp at all?
That's another one we're going to be talking to them on Thursday's meeting. Their solution right now is to put up 2 stop signs and plow the stone to the side of the road. They know they need to implement a permanent solution, but I don't see it coming before the spring weather comes. So,
Yeah, I traveled that weekend.
Yeah.
I can tell you too, going up B-Bot up the hill past the park, there's a ruts on the right side of the road that are like, and if you went off the road, you probably need your tire.
Sign of spring.
Yeah, but it's bad. That's the worst I've ever seen.
Anything else? Meeting is adjourned.
We're going to have a brief executive session.
Of course.